All right, I guess I'll kick us off. Thank you for having us. We're happy to present today. And just a little bit about us. My name is sana.kamalmaz. I'm the Director of Digital Strategy at TechGuilds and Kajoo, three-time Strategy MVP, and I have been in the digital experience space for a little over a decade. And with me here today is Nabil.orfali, our founder and CEO. He's seven-time Sitecore MVP, and he has more than 20 years experience in digital experience, and he has a passion for innovation and creating products.
Thank you, Sana. Thank you, everyone, for having us.
All right. Let me just make sure that slides are working properly. So what we're talking about today is what migrating from Sitecore MVC to XM Cloud like for like involves, and what are the challenges that you might expect there, how
Sana, are you
AI can
presenting?
help.
I don't see
I thought it
the slide.
was. Okay, let me share again. How about now?
Yeah.
All right, let me see, make sure that it's actually moving.
Yeah, it is moving.
Okay.
Oh no, we saw a notepad. Try to go to next
Is
slide.
it back now?
Yes, now it's moving. Yeah.
Perfect. All right, so what migrating from MVC to XM Cloud like for like is involved, what to expect in terms of challenges, and how AI can help our recommended solution with a demo, and then we will leave a little bit of time at the end for some Q&A. So, Sitecore XM Cloud, Sitecore's fastest growing product, and for a reason. And if you have been talking to clients or prospects, you might have noticed that it's easy to get them interested in a product, but it is when you bring up the effort and time and cost that is involved in the migration, that's where it gets a little bit trickier. But that's why we're here today, to change that, right? Why is migrating to Sitecore XM Cloud a good idea? Well, a bunch of reasons, but at the top of them is the fact that it's headless and it sits nicely in the heart of a composable architecture. It's cloud native, so no more upgrades, and it has a bunch of amazing features for both technical as well as business users. But migrating to Sitecore XM Cloud involves a good amount of work, and we can divide that work into four buckets. And each of these buckets, if you look at the diagram here, the size of the circles correspond to the amount of effort or time that is needed for each of these. So you would first have to set up. And the setup involves provisioning the new Sitecore environment on XM Cloud, and then setting up CI/CD pipelines, or in other words, DevOps automation. You would have to install the relevant connectors and integrations, and then you would have to create the new headless application using Next, React, or whatever framework that is desired. And last but not least, you would have to connect the headless application to the new Sitecore environment, because we will be using Sitecore first approach to make use of the existing data structure. After that comes the conversion and migration bit, which is the step usually that takes the most time and effort, because that involves documenting a full list of all the MVC components that need to be migrated, and then migrating the main layouts based on the markup and styles from the MVC implementation, because this is what will provide the structure and the theme of the website. And then you would have to rewrite every component to use the desired headless framework. Now, this involves migrating data source templates, moving backend logic, implementing the front-end rendering, and verifying functionality to make sure that everything is working the way it's supposed to be. And here is why, or you can appreciate here why this step is actually the step that takes the most time, because it's a rewrite of every single component from MVC to headless. Last but not least, of course, you would have to migrate the page and branch templates. After that comes the reconstruction of pages. And for that, you would want to migrate content items to the new Sitecore environment. In a like-for-like scenario, you could do that by copying the content from the old environment using serialization or packages. But you would have to also create a script to replace the old MVC components with the new headless component in the presentation details. At the end, of course, there's the launch-related activities. You would have to deploy the newly converted solution, including the code and the content to XM Cloud. You would have to perform end-to-end testing, making sure everything is working properly, and then perform a DNS switch to take the old website down and put the website up and live, and then decommission the old MVC-based environment. There will be challenges on the business side, on the technical side. Some of these include business buy-in. So getting all the stakeholders to agree on and commit to the migration. And this becomes trickier in the like-for-like scenario, because when a business has invested a good amount of money in a redesign, making the case for rewriting all the components in a different framework might not actually be easy when it's not combined with a redesign or a facelift. There's also the problem of the steep learning curve, which comes with the shift of the resource skill set. Because as we know, headless is heavier on the front end, while MVC is heavier on the back end. And this switch comes with its challenges and learning curve that usually ends up in or results in more spending in time and effort and money. On the technical side, this is not a complete list, but JavaScript frameworks are advancing very fast, and Sitecore is catching up to that. However, like as a new technology, in every new technology, the early versions are going to have some issues. There's also the fact that there's no support for dynamic layouts in the React JSS applications, and we've been mitigating that by creating custom layout factories. And stuff like the server-side rendering for SEO considerations, we've been trying to remediate these by using proxies to render the headless application, but we've seen problems with some of the modules, and so we tend to go and use integrated mode instead. So back to the process. How long does this manual process take? Now, to have data, we actually measured the conversion and migration of a homepage that consists of 7 components from MVC to headless. And to do just that homepage, it actually took 272 hours. Now, that is a good amount of time considering that this is just a homepage. And you can imagine how conflated that becomes if you're talking about a huge website, right? So how can AI help? You might have come across recently, and you're probably aware of the advancement or the fast advancement in AI tools and the way they can help in the process of development. You might have come across the sketch-to-code tools or tools that do code automation or code suggestion, even code reviews, or tools that even do unit tests, right? Unit tests for test automations. There are also tools that plug in an AI model to an interface, an optimized interface, where you can actually enter MVC code and it gives you back headless code. And these are all great solutions. But we did feel that there is a need for more than just automating bits and pieces of the process. There is a need for, taking a look at the entire process from A to Z and automating the bits and pieces that make it more efficient. And that's why we created Kajoo, an AI-powered digital experience builder that has multiple use cases and features. And at the center of it is a migration tool that can convert Sitecore MVC to Sitecore Headless or XM Cloud. It takes care of multiple steps throughout the process, and by automating these steps, it can actually save up to 70% of the time and cost of the migration from MVC to Headless or XM Cloud. And this is what we're showing you today. Nabil, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Sana. I will just, you want me to share my screen or just take control here? Let me share my screen.
Whatever you prefer.
Yeah.
I have a set of, scenario and acceptance criteria. Do you want me to go over it?
Oh yeah, sure. Go ahead.
All right. So we have this website, amica.ca, and we have the homepage that is on Sitecore 9.1, and it is on Sitecore XP, and we want to migrate it to XM Cloud. The acceptance criteria is that all homepage components need to be converted to headless, and specifically Next.js. We would like to keep responsiveness, and we would like to adhere to accessibility standards, including area and custom attributes, alt text, etc. We want them all to be met. And the converted components need to be fully dynamic using the same data template fields. And they need to be 100% experience editor as well as Sitecore pages friendly. We need to be able to display the content from any compatible data source. They need to be allowed on the relevant placeholders. And last but not least, of course, the generated code need to be clean using CSS modules and should be built properly with the existing JSS code base.
Amazing. All right, so let's see how we can meet all these acceptance criteria. Okay, so I will share my screen and in 1 minute. All right, you can see my screen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, awesome. So this is Kajoo, and it's basically a visual workplace or workspace with a visual canvas where you can create experiences in multiple ways. And the highlight of this session is to convert site to Jamstack or to XM Cloud Headless. And the other, just to mention other ways, which is you can convert Figma designs or hand-drawn sketch, or you can drag and drop. Well, we can get to that later on. As Sana said, like we automated that process, and the way you do it is you create a new project, and you put a pre-configured. You just select the source as a Sitecore MVC. And then you would be selecting a pre-configured site or connection between Kajoo and the MVC source on Sitecore side. You select the instance that this site is on. And then here what you'll presented with is a sitemap of unique page templates available on that implementation. And now I want to select this homepage that we talked about, and this homepage has 8 components on it. And when I go next, Kajoo would make a call to the source on the Sitecore side. Will read and understand how this page is broken down in terms of Sitecore components and renderings, and it will understand the data templates associated with every rendering. These renderings on the page in the presentation details, the order of them, the data sources, content items, page layout. Will scaffold all of that. And more importantly, when I go next here and start converting, this process is going to be mapping all these data and data templates and content models with the front end code. So Kajoo will understand and build a model of this is a Sitecore rendering on the front end side. This is the CSS code. This is the markup. This is all the accessibility attributes that are implemented already on the source. And including as well, we preserve the rendering, breakpoints and responsiveness for every mobile device, and as well as the reference styles. If there's any like state styles or any of that CSS. We map all of these together, and then this process usually depends on the site and the complexity, number of breakpoints as well. It takes usually between 5 to 10 minutes to convert a page to Kajoo. And then once this is done, it will tell you here that we converted a page with its 8 components, and you can import them into Kajoo. The way it works is that when we import, when we convert, we actually converted all these code and experiences into Kajoo format. And it's a kind of like a standard language that Kajoo can present and allow you to present in the canvas and allow you to change all the styling and layout, and also bind with the Sitecore data sources. So it's basically the integration part. So now what happens here is Kajoo created a page and created 8 components in the Kajoo project here, and added all these components as instances to the page in the same order and the presentation details of that page in the Sitecore implementation. And now if you can see here, if I click on any of these components, I have full control over all the elements, all the styles. It's responsive, and it's ready to be, you can check accessibility here as well. We have a built-in accessibility module here. We'll give you all the issues in the components. They can remediate them very easily and visually. But once you're happy with it, now this project here understands all the front-end code, but also the data templates and the IA associated in the Sitecore source. So now I'm happy with that. I'm gonna just go ahead and deploy all these 8 components to the XM Cloud destination. So now here I choose the site, the destination, which is another configured site. So when we started, we chose the Sitecore instance on the source, on the MVC implementation. And now we're choosing the Amica Headless XM Cloud Sitecore instance that we're going to be deploying to. And the site configuration in Kajoo basically consists of some configuration to communicate with the Sitecore instance, code repo in GitHub, and the branch you want to check in the code to, and also deployment information, where you want to deploy the head or the JSS application. In this case, it's Vercel. So now I just go ahead and choose next. I chose the environment and the instance I want to deploy to, which is also configurable in Kajoo. And now I choose the number of components I want to deploy. You may choose to deploy one or all, or many, or few. And now I hit deploy. What's going to happen right now is we generated the code from scratch, either in Next.js or React, based on the version of the JSS application that is in your code repo and configuration. And we check in that code in the repo in GitHub. We send all this information into our dynamic CI/CD pipeline here on Azure. And now it's building the newly generated code with the existing code, and we'll deploy it into the head on Vercel, and we'll also send all the data templates and rendering information to Sitecore to create the data templates, the rendering item. It will create the page template and the page item, and also will create the data source item, the content items associated with all these components, and we'll scaffold all of that together in the same order on the source. So here you can see I refresh the page, and I have my 8 components on XM Cloud, compatible with pages, compatible with SXK Headless, which is the new thing in XM Cloud, and it's responsive, and just ready to be basically, published and go live. So let's just think for a minute what just happened. We converted one page with 8 components from MVC, ASP.NET, Razor, whatever it is on the source, into XM Cloud and Headless in like under 5 minutes. So it's really like a big accelerator on the development workflow. And it's just notable to mention here that this scenario that I just showed you is really like a happy path, where Kajoo is actually capable of converting everything, and there is no complicated components. Like, for example, If the complexity of the code has a lot of interactions, like on-click events, or needs to be extended with JavaScript, then what you need to do is you need to generate the code and check it in your source control, open it in Visual Studio, and extend the code from there. So think about Kajoo as an accelerator of the development process. So for example, here, I'm going to switch to the live demo here. So this is the page and the components that are converted. And you can, at any time, click Generate Code. Before you even check it in your source control, you can just, if you want to check the code as a developer, you choose the language, and you hit Publish, and then we generate the code and we open it in Code Sandbox in real time. So you can see what's happening here. And you can see here now I have my components. Those are all the Sitecore renderings. And this is, for example, the footer. It has the Next.js code, and there's a CSS module. So this is a CTA, for example, and there's a CSS module file associated with each component for all the styles. And you have your code here. And also what we do is we generate manifest files for the components to be imported into Sitecore. So, and this is, if you're following this migration, you're following the code first approach, where we're actually just migrating like for like. But you can also use Kajoo to, in the Sitecore first approach, you can actually bind these components into an existing data template of rendering if you choose to. So you can just choose the site instance and bind those with existing data templates. But I mean, here you can, again, generate the code and check it. If you're happy with it, you can check it in source control and pick it up from there and massage the code, move it in your specific architecture, or extend it, and you take it from there. So that's the scenario of the migration. And now the next, I'm going to continue with the presentation here, I guess. So with this migration, when we put the same homepage that we converted right now, the Amica homepage, through Kajoo, we measured and we saw that we were able to save 29% of the setup, 84% of the migrate and convert, and all the steps that Sana mentioned, and also 100% of the reconstruction of the pages, and around 18% of the launch activities. And the 272 hours became 80 hours in total. So this is like 71% saving of efforts. So, and again, this is considering that we pretended that the whole project is just this homepage. All the overhead around it is basically, only around one homepage with 8 components. And so now, next, Sana, you have a scenario as well that you want to ask me to do.
Yeah, of course. So, the website is launched, everything is good, but Amica would like to create a new landing page that has components that were not available in the original environment. How easy is it to create those components, knowing that, the design team has developed the mockups for this component in Figma?
Okay, absolutely. Let's see how fast we can do it. I'll do this part in a live demo. Should I dare? Okay, where is the Amica design? Not this one. Not this one. This one. Okay. So which component? Like this banner is okay? Is that
Yeah,
the banner? Okay.
that banner is okay.
All right, so I can just come here to this design and make sure it's auto layout. Yeah, it is auto layout. That's great. Right click and open the Kajoo Figma plugin and convert this component into Kajoo format. It will give me the auto layout rating, by the way. Here, it's an excellent rating. And I will come here to Kajoo, go to add, import Figma design. What do you want to call the component, Sana?
Solid banner, solid color banner.
Solid color banner. There you go. So this is my component, and I can see here all the elements are outlined properly here, and I can see the styles came nicely. Those are the CSS properties, and you can either check them here in the advanced CSS editor or just visually change anything or tweak anything. And I can as well like make it responsive, so I can go to the smaller breakpoint. Let's say 320, maybe a little bit larger, 50, and I can make this, let's say 100%, and probably it has some, container has some margin, so I'm gonna reset these. I reset it too much, so I'll add some margin around left and right, so maybe 24 pixels here, and nope, not to the container. Okay, so let's maybe reduce that a little bit. Padding, so we'll make it 24 here and 24 here. Okay, so now Kajoo will respect the every media query and the different styling, and when you generate the code, you will see media queries generated as well for the CSS. And one thing I didn't show, so there's a complete interactive design system in Kajoo here where you can add the color palettes, the design tokens, size, spacing, radius, custom breakpoints, custom fonts, and you can even add to your library here different atoms on the headings or paragraphs or buttons, and you can reuse that very easily. So this is I make a heading, for example, if it's not like, let's say if I create a new component here and I want to use a heading, but from my design library, I can just come here and drag it. It takes the styling of Emica automatically, and I can just continue to build with drag and drop, or come to an existing element and apply a different design variant from the design system here to an existing element. So here is the component, solid color, it's ready. I can now make it dynamic. And if I have a data template already, I can map it with an existing data template in Sitecore. Or if I want to create a new data template, I can just choose this option. And we'll come here to every field. I'll give a name to the data template field name. So call it hero title. And this is the Sitecore field type. It's a single text, description, button as well. And then, when I deploy this, it will create a data template with the name of the component, and we'll create a rendering item with the name of the component, and we'll generate the code, deploy it into Vercel, build it with JSS, existing JSS app, deploy it to Vercel, and then it will be available in my XM Cloud component library. And this is, that's another instance. So this is here, the XM Cloud deployment. That's the Amica homepage. Oh, actually, that's a different demo. I think it's a different site. So any questions so far, or we should only have this slide? So Sana, you want to go over it?
Please carry on. Carry on. Let's keep the questions to the end.
Okay. Okay, great. So some tractions that we have so far, we are Sitecore technology partners as Kajoo. We did multiple vendor briefings with Gartner and Forsters, and the feedback that we got was amazing. And we got featured in this nice podcast hosted by Zapier CMO and HubSpot CMO. And we got featured as they compared 5 AI tools, and they chose Kajoo as the kind of like the winner for that competition. So, I mean, feel free to take a look at the video. It's interesting. And I think with that, we are done with the presentation. So questions are welcome.
All right. First of all, I would like to express that when you presented this in the last SUG-Con in Minneapolis, the audience went totally crazy, in different ways. I would say emotional, in different ways. Some people were excited, some people were like quite scared, you know. So I have a question here, which I think addresses the common feeling that anyone who is checking your presentation, your demo for the first time. With Kajoo bringing us from Figma straight to components, what is the impact for developers? How are they still valid, still helpful, still useful, still relevant? Also, do you think this has the potential to bring service costs down at the point of impacting people's salary?
Right. Okay. So great questions. So let me start with the first question. Kajoo helps in accelerating the development process, and it helps in removing the mundane work that no one really excited to do anymore. And this is why we created the product 4 years ago when I got this idea. At that point we were at TechGuilds, we completed more than 200 Sitecore projects, and we said how many times you guys want to build another hero banner? And the answer was no more, please. Too many. So we said, okay, let's leverage AI to actually automate the process and remove the mundane work out of you, and so you can focus on the higher value work. You can focus on more innovation, more exciting development and coding. And this is why I said, in this simple scenario of a component that doesn't have any interaction, doesn't have any business logic, Kajoo can do 80-90% of the work. But for more advanced components where developers just bring the components here either from MVC to convert it here or from Figma, you really need to generate the code, put it in your solution, and extend it from there. So, but the mundane work is the boring work is already done for you, and it just makes your life easier as a developer. This is our mission. We don't want to replace developers by any means. At the end of the day, this is a tool, and the goal here is to just make you more productive and enjoy development more than just doing another hero banner over and over again, and focus on innovation, focus on doing a higher value work. In terms of bringing your salary down, I don't know how this would apply, honestly, because if you are a developer working for an agency, and instead of producing, I don't know, 10 components a month, you can produce 30 components a month or 50. And that would make you a superstar in your organization, right? And will make the company more profitable, and will make the increase the revenue and profit for the agency. So that would just make it's a win-win for everyone. So and it allows the agency to be more competitive, to get more projects, and clients want to work with you because they're not spending $3, $4, $5 million again to migrate from MVC to headless, which is what we're seeing right now in the market. We're seeing the number one blocker and barrier to entry for XM Cloud is the cost of migrating. And I don't want to call it migrating. It's not migration. It's actually conversion. You need to rebuild all the components manually, even if it's like for like.
Re-implementation.
Yeah, exactly. Why would I spend $5 million to just rebuild the same component, same design with little business value, or not little, visible business value? Because it's not a new customer journey. It's not a new conversion funnel. It's not a new design. It's just modernizing the technology. So now we're seeing many companies and clients, they're looking for tools like this to actually modernize without spending a lot of money, and they want to spend that budget on innovating, changing, maybe like the conversion funnel, advancing their DX, adding personalization, adding more advanced stuff, but not just rebuild or upgrades. So that's what we see in the market, honestly. We don't see people actually fearing for their salaries or for their jobs. It's just going to make you more successful.
All right. So
yeah, at the same time, you can use your 5-6 developers to do 5-6 different, more exciting, more valuable stuff instead of firing them, right? And you
Exactly.
become more competitive, you become more valuable, and yeah.
You'll become a high-performing team that can do more for less.
yeah, I guess the AI is coming, and I was in your presentation there, and as it was like Rodrigo said, like half of the audience was like very excited, and the other half you can see fear in their eyes, So, and I think all the AI technology that's coming up, and AI is, you have this Sitecore now, but all technologies are putting AI as well. Like in Content Hub, they're putting some AI in some levels there, and everything is plugging into AI. And
It's
this
inevitable.
question, inevitable, and this question is coming from all over, all over the places. And I think it will continue, and we're gonna see in the next years. But the feelings are really interesting, and I think it's always that, half of the audience is very excited, and half of the audience is very scared. But I think what Nabil said, and like the world is always changing, and AI is here to stay, and we as developers, the technology was evolving. We need to learn new stuff, learn new features, and we'll keep learning, guys. So that's why you have this session as well. So we keep learning, and the only constant in life is the change, right? So it's we need to keep learning, and Rodrigo.
No, that's all. That's all.
Do we have questions from the audience here as well? The Q&A?
No, I think people are so paralyzed they didn't have anything to ask other than just what I said before. People are concerned with their salaries, with their relevance, and I think you addressed that pretty well. I believe that one important question, one important statement that everybody's saying is AI will not replace you if you are not replaceable, in terms of if you do things that are like demands creativity, demands special skills that just implementing, rendering data from one field into one place in the markup.
Yeah.
And if you don't know AI, if you are not embracing the technology, then you must be scared. That's the biggest message.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I just want to add, like, we didn't really use AI for everything here. We used it when, I would say, responsibly when it's relevant, because Gen AI, as you know, is not the result of the Gen AI is not always consistent. So we added a lot of guide rails and rules around smart algorithms to control that, so you can have consistent standard results every time you generate code. And that's an important aspect. And it's not like you convert or you from Figma or from existing website, and then you get like different results every time. Because now today, I'm sure everyone tried that. When you go to ChatGPT and you ask a question, it will give you the right answer. Challenge that and say, this is the wrong answer. It will apologize and give you a wrong answer. Have you tried that before? You can trick it and it just generates, random stuff. So yeah, and this is what we avoided here. Like, we control that in a way that is not just AI, it's just a mix of AI and smart algorithms to achieve this.
So Nabil, I would like one question. I mean, your team is using this tool. It's using the tool, so probably it took some time in terms of training to, let's say, adapt to the tool. Do you have like an idea of, let's say, how long one developer took it to, like, first to be, I would say, a Kajoo beginner developer, then like a intermediate developer, and then like an advanced someone that can really connect to the tool and do everything, do maintenance? Because I see in a way that if someone in your team, for instance, using the tool, it needs to learn. If someone's join your team, you need to start learning the tool, and there is a learning curve on that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So our focus was since day one is to create a tool that is easy to use, and we started actually focusing on marketers, to be able to create components and landing pages on Sitecore without technical knowledge. And then we quickly realized that there's always a development or developer team involved to do anything more advanced. So we made that kind of like shift a little bit to provide more advanced tools for developers that we meet them on their existing development process. So in terms of like a developer learning how to use Kajoo, first of all, Kajoo is open to anyone who want to use it, client or agency. And what comes with the Kajoo license is enablement and training. So usually we do 2 hours sessions training with the whole team, and we, when they start to use it, it will take them on average like 2 to 3 weeks to be like really up and running and proficient with it. And yeah, I think the biggest barrier is not training or using the tool. The biggest barrier would be change management. Changing the process that needs to come from top management. That the leadership of the organization needs to come from there and say, we need to change what we used to. We need to challenge the status quo, and we need to start to use tools like Kajoo and Rodrigo just signed up. Great. So yeah, I mean, we need to roll it up and get buy-in from the team and slowly change the process that we are used to. Because I mean, let's face it, we're really, it's not easy, especially for larger organization. Like for example, one of the first Kajoo clients was Deloitte Digital. It's a huge organization and took them a good amount of time to roll it out and be able to change their process. But you see on the other side, like American Bankers Association, one of our clients as well, they actually want to use it internally in their marketing department to build microsites and landing pages. they already have a Sitecore partner, but they want to do it on their own. So, and they're using it, and they were like up and running in not so long. So, yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yes, yes, definitely. So yeah, I see. Yeah, because something that I see now, let's say we have ChatGPT, and this a lot of people are saying like, in the future you might be like someone that will be inputting things in the AI and like reading things from the AI and deciding what is the best for you. So I would say that here there is also opportunity uh, as a casual developer, I would say, and you need to learn the tool. You're gonna use it. You're gonna use on your business. So just saying that, like it's transformation, right? So things are changing. Like so, you maybe be like I said, for developer, develop the component, and now you're going to use an AI tool that will be creating the component for you, but you're still there doing something. And but maybe the nature of the thing is changing a little bit, but there's still space for learning new stuff and jobs that will be generated in the future as well with AI coming.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Rodrigo, you mentioned at the beginning of the session the Sitecore Accelerate program. So we're working closely with Sitecore right now, and Kajoo will be kind of like the recommended tool as part of the Accelerate program, because this is going to allow everyone to be like really go to market much faster and accelerate the adoption of XM Cloud.
All right, that's amazing. That's exciting. In the end, this is such an advantageous tool that everybody has to do. If you don't, it's going to be, probably bad for the company. That's how I see it. Congrats, congrats.
Thank you. Appreciate it.